Testing for sound. Okay, so I've got the sound working now. So we'll take it from the top. Hello, Roberto. It's good to see you. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. So hello everyone and welcome to Dharma Bum Basics. Tonight we're on part 4 of our Eightfold Path series. Sorry for the technical difficulties in the beginning. I'm not sure if it's the computer or the Wi-Fi. Last night we had some technical difficulties with internet connection. If that persists tonight, I'll restart once, and then if we lose signal again, just meditate on your own. And then I'll see you next week. So tonight's topic is right action. We're building off of a couple weeks ago when we talked about right speech. So right speech being the first of the virtue factors of the path, and right action being the second. And then the third being right livelihood, which we'll discuss at some point in the future. So with right action, I think I'd like to, if I can pull something up real quick. The link to this would be in the description box if this was the first video, but I didn't want to recopy all the links in 3 times, so I'll edit it afterwards. So so I'd like to read this little excerpt from a sutra, which is, if you don't know the words of the Buddha, I always like to start with the sutra and then go into a little bit of an explanation of the sutra, then we'll do a meditation, etc. So this sutra, the standard sutra for describing right action basically is the Buddha saying, and what monks is right action? There is the case where a disciple of the noble ones abstains from killing, from stealing, and from causing sexual harm. This monk's is right action. So that's kind of the general right action sutra, general description of it, general formula of it. But I'd like to share this this excerpt from a sutra on virtue itself. So, and it's kind of it's an excerpt about the benefits that come from virtue, the reason why virtue is part of the path. We're not being good just for the sake of being good. While that's a beautiful motivation, this behaving virtuously has a very real application to the development of the path and development of the mind. So I'd like to touch on that a bit. Then there is the case where you recollect your own virtues. They are untorn, unbroken, unspotted, liberating, praised by the observant, conducive to concentration. At any time when a disciple of the noble ones is recollecting virtue, their mind is not overcome with passion, not overcome with aversion, and not overcome with delusion. Their mind heads straight, based on virtue. And when the mind is headed straight, the disciple of the noble one gains a sense of the goal, gains a sense of the Dhamma or the Dharma, gains joy connected with the Dhamma. In one who is joyful, rapture arises. In one whose mind is enraptured, the body grows calm. One whose body is calmed experiences ease. In one at ease, the mind becomes concentrated. in a mind that's concentrated, knowledge and vision of things as they are arises. From knowledge and vision of things as they are comes disenchantment. From disenchantment comes dispassion. And from dispassion comes knowledge of release, knowledge of freedom. In this way, skillful virtues lead step by step to liberation. So what I like about that sutra is a lot of my favorite sutras are the ones that give a broad, they talk about the starting point, and then they explain step by step how they lead to liberation. Those are always my favorite. I just think it's so fascinating that there's this complex and detailed practice, but it can be summed up in those 13 or so lines there. So what's really cool about that is it's showing that virtue, the predominant benefit of virtue is that by behaving virtuous, we stop creating more and more remorse. It's not necessarily that all our remorse from the past goes away, but we stop creating more. So it's a little easier to process our past remorse and heal it and things of that nature when we're not constantly pumping out more remorse through our actions. And this freedom from remorse is necessary to give rise to these deeper and more fulfilling states of meditation. So I love how that sutta points out that from behaving skillfully, from behaving in a way that's conducive, that falls in line with these principles of like non-affliction and heedfulness or cautiousness, by acting in that way, living in that way, it has a profound impact on the mind and on the heart, and allows us really to heal, and then once we've healed to an extent, we can begin to feel the benefit, the deeper benefits from the meditation. When we're not bogged down with all this baggage from the past, when we're able to heal that, then there's a lot less that we're having to work with. Then we're just having to unravel the person who pissed us off in traffic this morning, that rude thing that our boss said to us that we've been mulling over for like a week, things like that, as opposed to these years and decades of negative experience. So that's kind of the benefit of virtue. So it's not just goodness for the sake of goodness, but it's goodness with kind of a goal in mind, a purpose beyond just goodness. So, yeah. Now, if we're talking about right speech last week, I had mentioned that, a few weeks ago, I had mentioned that all three factors of the virtue division of the path have non-affliction as kind of their central theme. And it's just a matter of, as we progress through right speech, right action, right livelihood, it's pretty much a widening of that non-affliction. With right speech, we start by trying to adopt non-affliction in the way that we speak to others and in the way that we narrate in our own mind. We try not to afflict others or ourselves with our words or our verbal thoughts, right? And then, so with right speech, you have non-affliction, and then the other factor that applies predominantly to right speech is truthfulness and the importance of being honest. Because when we lie to others, we end up lying to ourselves. We don't see things clearly. The companion with right action, if you have non-affliction, and then you have heedfulness, which is this sense of seeing the danger and behaving unskillfully, seeing the potential consequences that come from living an unskillful life. So that's kind of what right action is based upon. Whatever aspect, whatever facet of right action you're looking into is a combination of non-affliction and heedfulness. And heedfulness, of course, is also understanding that causing pain to anyone else does not benefit you. It only puts you at risk. Even if it feels like it would benefit you, or it feels like it'd be cathartic or whatever it might be, it's just not worth it. It's not worth the time, the energy, the remorse. So it's being able to view things in this through this more skillful lens. Now, I think I'll stop there for now. We'll do the guided meditation, and then we will go into more of a discussion. I mentioned a few weeks back, last week we did forgiveness practice. Tonight we'll do forgiveness meditation again, because I pretty much always do it when we cover right action, because of the second line of those benefits of virtue, freedom from remorse. Forgiveness meditation is probably the best meditation to do if we have a lot of remorse, or it's the best meditation to do to work through our remorse. Maybe if we have a lot of remorse and we're new to the practice, we should start with something else, because it can get a little intense. So before we get started, a few things I'll say about posture and about specifically forgiveness meditation. In terms of posture, if you're seated on a chair, helpful to have feet flat on the ground. Tongue pressed gently up against the roof of the mouth and the back of the teeth prevents the buildup of saliva, which can become a distraction. I like to bring my shoulders up and back and then relax down into a really sturdy posture. If you are sitting in a chair, maybe not fully utilizing the backrest, as you're more likely to fall asleep. I have a meditation cushion on the chair, on the back of the chair, so I'm only using about a third of the back of the chair. It just helps you stay awake, helps you stay alert. You're a lot less likely to stay asleep if you fall over when you fall asleep. So that's it for posture. General meditation instruction: don't expect the mind to stop thinking or to focus single-pointedly on whatever the object of meditation is. That's just not in the nature of the mind. The mind's not going to stop thinking any more than the heart's going to stop beating or the lungs are going to stop breathing. It's just what it does. The practice of meditation is about acknowledging that, being aware of that, and when it does inevitably wander, having the ardency to bring it back, having the mindfulness to remember when you're lost in thought, to remember that there's something you're supposed to be doing right now, to keep in mind that there's something we're supposed to be doing right now. So with that, anytime you notice that the mind has wandered off, very gently, you don't have to force it back, but very gently guide your awareness back and relax back into the body. You don't want to force your awareness back, because that creates a lot of tension in the body, which is counterproductive to the meditation, and it makes the mind not want to stay. It's similar to when you're training a dog. If you just you're trying to train like a puppy to stay, and the puppy wanders off and you grab them by the collar and you force them back to where they want to be, chances are the puppy's probably either going to run away or wet itself, neither of which are desirable outcomes. But if when the puppy walks away, you can bait it back gently, and then when it comes back, you can give it a reward. In the puppy's case, that'd be a treat, and then in our case, that would be relaxing, letting some of that tension go that built up while we were distracted. So just reward yourself for coming back. Don't punish yourself for wandering. With forgiveness meditation in particular, we'll start with the breath to kind of settle in, relax things a bit, and then we'll move on to the forgiveness. I'll give the instructions during the meditation. If at any point the forgiveness practice seems too intense for you, just return to the breath. And you can stay with the breath for the rest of the meditation, or if you feel like you've reestablished a sense of ease, you can return to the forgiveness. There's no need, again, to force yourself, whether force yourself to come back to the object of meditation or force yourself to stay with an incredibly painful object of meditation. So if you find it intense, you can return to the breath and then just dip your foot in a bit into the forgiveness. If at any point during the meditation you feel the need to cry, that's okay. That's actually a beautiful thing. When we have tears come during forgiveness meditation, it's one of the mind's ways of processing past regrets or past traumas. So if we allow those tears to flow, it's like allowing emotional processing to happen. If we hold it in, we create more tension and we further repress whatever we're feeling. So you don't want to do that. You just want to let it flow. And that's pretty much it. You may want to grab a box of tissues if you have any available. Less distracting that way. Yeah. So with that, we will get started. Closing the eyes and taking 3 deep breaths slowly. Noticing if deep breathing feels good. If it does, you can keep on breathing in this way. If it doesn't, you can switch things up. Maybe even deeper still or more shallow. Heavier or lighter. In short, out long, or in long and out short. Experimenting with the breath is very valuable. It gives us firsthand experience in playing with one of the ways that we create our experience of the present moment. But if you're not feeling it tonight, that's fine. You can just pose the question in the mind as to what kind of breathing would feel best. And then just watch how the body responds. Once you've found a comfortable rhythm of breath, you can just maintain it for a while and see if you can allow tension in the body to soften all the way through the in-breath and all the way through the out-breath. Softening the forehead and the area around the eyes. If you want, you can even imagine the breath flowing through the tension, washing it away. Softening the shoulders and relaxing the chest, all the way through the in-breath and all the way through the out-breath. Relaxing the stomach, And relaxing down the arms and into the hands as well. Again, if you want, you can imagine the breath flowing through, washing it away. Down the arms, down the body. All the way down through the legs and out the feet. And with tension throughout the body relaxed, you can guide your awareness and focus into the heart. Noticing how the heart and the chest feel. And as you settle in here in the heart, you can set aside the breath for the time being. You can let it fade into the background. And we can begin working with forgiveness. And the way that we'll do this is we'll internally repeat a phrase and then notice any tension being caused by this phrase. Mostly in the forehead and the shoulders. And see if we can consciously relax that tension. And then return to the chest. And mentally state the phrase again. Repeating this process. This physical letting go aids in mentally letting go of all of the regrets and resentments and anguish associated with this. So you can mentally repeat the phrase, I forgive myself for not handling things differently. I forgive myself for not handling things differently. Noticing how this feels for the heart, how it physically feels. If you notice any tension, soften into it. If you notice a pleasant sensation, just gently stay with it. Gently be aware of it as you maintain forgiveness. Recognize that the mind has wandered. Release the distraction, not gripping onto it, not pushing away, just letting it go. Relax any tension caused by the distraction. Maybe lost in blame or regret. That's none of your business right now. Gently return to the heart center and begin working with this phrase again, softening into it. I forgive myself for not handling things differently. You can even allow a gentle smile to rest on the face. Not only smiling with the mouth, but smiling with the eyes as well. This can help to create a positive association with forgiving. I forgive myself for not handling things differently. And inevitably, a certain person may come to mind. And if you know why this person came to mind, there's no need to ruminate on it, to dwell on it. If you don't know why this person came to mind, there's no need to figure it out. When this person comes up, you can make them the object of your meditation, holding an image of them in your heart and extending this forgiveness to them as well. Imagining yourself saying to them, I forgive you for not handling things differently. Noticing how it physically feels to send forgiveness to this person. And softening if necessary. You can even think their name. I forgive you, so and so, for not handling things differently. Recognize that the mind has wandered. Drop the blame and regret. Relax the forehead and the shoulders and the chest. Reestablish that gentle smile and return to forgiveness, shifting it slightly this time, imagining this person forgiving you in return, hearing them say, I too forgive you for not handling things differently. Noticing how it feels to receive forgiveness. Remember, if you need to cry, just cry. Let it flow. There's no benefit to holding it in. It's all part of relaxing into it. I too forgive you for not handling things differently. And that's enough of that. You can send this person on their way. And just return to the breath for a few moments, taking some good, deep, nourishing breaths. Really cleansing out any tension in the body. Softening the forehead and the eyes and the shoulders all the way down through the body. Letting go of any residue from the forgiveness, any resentment residue. And when you're ready, you can gradually open the eyes. And maybe just look around the room and mentally or out loud note 3 different things that you see to kind of break that link. So you're less likely to dwell on it for the rest of the night or week or month. So I really needed that. It was really beneficial. When I lead, I don't necessarily get to fully invest into the meditation, but there's moments throughout that are little jewels, and it did what it needed to. If you would like to share your experience with this meditation in the comments, wherever that is, the live chat, I'd love to hear it. If you're watching this at a future date, if you'd like to comment down below, I try to read the comments on past videos as best I can. Yeah. So with that, I know we are almost at time. If it's okay with y'all, I'm going to go a bit over since we got kind of a late start with the technical difficulties. And then I do have an announcement at the end. So we'll get right into it. So I'll hit some key points. I won't go as in depth as I normally would because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So the main thing with the right action is recognizing that when we go throughout our day behaving unskillfully, it creates huge blind spots in our awareness. It kind of, when we go around behaving in a way that if we really reflected on it, we don't agree with, if we're behaving in that way in our interactions with others and the way that we go about our day, it's going to build these walls in our memory and in our perception. So we don't have to look at our actions as they are. Look at the way that we interact as it is. So we create these walls or these filters. And this all comes from behaving unskillfully, because we don't want to look at what we're doing. We create all of these clever ways, the mind creates all of these clever ways of not having to look at it. And it can go as far as basically creating an entirely parallel reality where a lot of the things that other people may see you doing or a close friend may see you doing, and if they are a close friend, they may call you out on. Oftentimes at first you'd be like, I don't do that. But if you reflect on it, you really look at it, you're like, wow, maybe I do that. So this is part of right action. Part of the entire path is being able to look at things more clearly, being able to see things as they are, as opposed to seeing them for what we make them into. So that's kind of the dominant factor of right action. As I had mentioned in the beginning of the class, if you weren't here, there's a reward from virtue, and that reward is freedom from remorse, which is why we did this forgiveness meditation as kind of a means to helping that along. And freedom from remorse eventually leads all the way to complete freedom. When we're free from remorse, it means we can look at our actions more clearly. When we can look at our actions more clearly, we can see the activities of the mind more clearly. When we can see the activities of the mind more clearly, we can learn what we're doing that's unskillful and what we're doing that's skillful. And we can apply the effort to abandon what's unskillful and develop what's skillful, as defined in right intention or right resolve, which is a few videos back if you haven't seen it in this playlist. So that's kind of the benefits of right action. And then one of the things I really enjoyed, like during this forgiveness meditation, one of the things that we did is when we had someone come to mind and we made them the object of forgiveness. Most likely this person came to mind because there's some level of either conscious or subconscious resentment towards them. Because we're focusing on forgiveness, the mind's geared towards forgiveness, so it starts digging up the files on all the people that we have resentment for. The mind's very good at that. So this person came up because we either have blatant resentment or more subtle resentment towards them. And then we forgave them. We tried to extend this forgiveness to them. But the fun little twist we did at the end there is we flipped it around and imagined this person forgiving us in return. And I know for a lot of people, my friend Thomas, back when back in the before times when we had people here, Thomas shared when we did a forgiveness meditation that that was the most difficult part. He had focused on his brother who he had issues with, and the most difficult part of the forgiveness meditation was imagining his brother forgiving him in return, because it was, well, what the heck do I have? What the heck did I do that you have to forgive? It was all on you. You were the cause of all of it and all this. So it's something really interesting to look at, because if we were completely blameless in the situation, we wouldn't have this pushback of like, whoa, why am I forgiving, or why are you forgiving me? I didn't do anything wrong. If we were completely blameless, there wouldn't be this defensive reflex. So that's something that's really interesting. And it's not, I'm not saying that we're objectively blameworthy or anything like that, but some part of our mind, some part of our less than conscious mind believes that we had some part in it, or believes that we, even in a situation that we're completely blameless in, the mind could still create some kind of narrative about how we have blame in it. More likely than not, we do have some aspect of blame in it. An argument takes two people, but so that's kind of that. So with that, it reminds me of something that the Buddha would teach his son Rahula. For those of you that don't know, the Buddha had a son before becoming a monk and practicing out in the wilderness, and then he came back to his kingdom that he was the prince of, and his son kind of asked for his inheritance, which in India would mean that he gives him the right to take over the throne. Like, it couldn't go from king to grandson, it had to go from king to son to son. So he asked for that, and the Buddha said, I'll give you your inheritance, and made the son a monk. And the son wanted to go along with him. So one of the things that he taught him, and his son was, I think about 13 years old, 10 or 13 years old. And one of the first lessons that he taught him is with regards to right action. And it's, with every action that you perform, hold a mirror up. Really see what you're doing. Don't just go through the motions, but see what you're doing. So reflect before you perform an action. Will this cause harm to myself or someone else? If the answer is yes, don't perform that action. While performing the action, reflect again, is this causing harm to myself or someone else? If the answer is yes, stop performing that action. And then afterwards, reflect once more. Did that cause harm to myself or someone else, or to both? And then create a resolve to not perform that kind of action again. You've deemed that that action's unskillful because it causes harm. Anything that causes harm is an unskillful action. So that activity of reflecting is pretty prominent in that last portion of the forgiveness meditation. You're like, whoa, what did I do? I'm blameless in this. But if there's some kind of pushback, it's because some part of you doesn't think you're blameless, but you don't want to look at it. So that's a fun thing to play with. And then the last thing that I'll say is that, maybe the last thing, we'll see, that all of these virtue factors of the path, what's interesting about them is that the Buddha defined them not as performing skillful actions, but instead as avoiding unskillful ones. So he didn't place all the focus on this is everything you have to do. He placed the focus on these are the things that in no case should you do. Like with right speech, abstaining from lying. With right action, 3 of the precepts associated with right action is no killing, no stealing, and no sexual misconduct or causing sexual harm. And then you use your discernment, your judgment, and your intuition to determine what outside of that scope or what applies within that scope would be unskillful, would cause harm in some way. And then you focus most of your energy on avoiding performing unskillful actions instead of focusing all your energy every day on some kind of virtue checklist of, did I do all the good things today? You're going to run yourself ragged trying to do that. But if you focus on, did I abstain from the bad things today? Which ones did I abstain from? Awesome, check. Which ones didn't I? Okay, I'll work on that tomorrow. Reflecting on your actions throughout your day at the end of the day is a great way to build a foundation of skillful action, build a foundation of virtue. And then, I think that's pretty much it. I had a few other things I want to say, but I know we're already like 10 minutes or 5 minutes over. So the only other thing that I'll say is the precepts, and I'll go over all of them just real quick. No lying, no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, and then no use of intoxicants, anything that clouds the mind. They all have their reasons for being there. If you feel pushback against hearing any of them, it's again similar to the end of the forgiveness meditation. It's a chance that there may actually be an issue there or a really strong dependency there. If you feel any pushback from any of those, lying, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, use of intoxicants, if you feel any kind of pushback with any of them, try abstaining from it for like a week and just see the difference in the mind. If you can make it a week, try abstaining for another week and see. Typically the first week's not going to be all that enjoyable, but there may be some benefit. And after the second week, there may be more benefit. And the precepts aren't like commandments. They're more of like a New Year's resolution that we make each day. That we know these things, if we avoid them, tend to more often than not have a positive impact on the mind and on the heart. So maintaining them day after day, week after week, keeping ourselves accountable with them, the mind begins to gain freedom from remorse and eventually leads to complete freedom. The words of Ajahn Chah, if you let go a little bit, you'll gain a little freedom. If you let go a lot, you'll gain a lot of freedom. And if you let go completely, you'll gain complete freedom. So thank you everyone for coming. I do have one short announcement, and then we'll close out. So due to like personal circumstances, basically kind of like deciding if I want to like go back to school or not, or what direction I kind of want to go in my personal life. I won't be continuing the Eightfold Path series. I'll probably take a month off from that. So I don't want to just stop doing the classes because I know that they're useful and a lot of people benefit from them and kind of really need them during this trying time. So I don't want to stop doing the classes, but I'm going to just change the format a little bit, which I think ultimately can be beneficial for everyone too. Because the way my brain works is, in order to do any of these classes on a specific topic, I have to actually study that topic throughout the week. Because even though I have these things kind of internalized, this Eightfold Path internalized, my brain doesn't work that much in the verbal. So trying to take what's internal and functioning within me and bring it out doesn't always work so great. So I have to kind of expose myself to that topic throughout the week in order to present a good class, or what I feel is a good quality of class. So that being said, with what I'm trying to figure out, I don't necessarily have the time to do that because my brain can only focus on one type of thing at a time. So it makes it really difficult to study for something and lead the class with an established topic. So what we'll be doing instead is we'll do the class during the same time window, but instead of a 25 to 30 minute meditation with a discussion and all that kind of stuff, instead we will do a 45-minute meditation, and I'll guide it still. Guiding meditation is something it's pretty straightforward for me. It doesn't really require studying. We'll do a few different styles of meditation throughout this month. Next week, we'll probably do recollection on goodness or recollection of virtue, just kind of building off of tonight's class. So again, we'll do, instead of 25 to 30-minute meditation, we'll do 45-minute meditation. And I won't have any prepared topic, but if anyone wants to ask questions or suggest a topic to talk about, we can do that. I think that would be useful. And then I don't have to kind of study beforehand, right? So yeah. And then if no one asks any questions, we'll just close out early. So that's what we'll do for probably the next month. Thanks for sticking around for the end for that announcement. So if comfortable, please join palms and we'll close with the transfer of merit. May any merit gained from this meditation and discussion be dedicated to all those who suffer at this time. May all beings in all directions, without limit or end, be healthy, safe, joyful, and at ease. May we all be healthy, safe, joyful, and at ease. Metta karuna mudita upeka sahanga teya cetasa chaturisam bharatva viharati samabundaro pavena samanamaro pavena samasangharo pavena sote hantu nirantaram. Have a good rest of your night, everyone. I'll see you next week.